In today's video, I'm going to show you an exchange where you can trade anonymously, truly, without KYC, meaning you don't have to provide any personally identifying information and can still trade. Here, you can buy and sell Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but you can also use leverage trading, all with a withdrawal limit of 500,000 US dollars per day. And that's really without any KYC. I don't know of any other exchange that offers this. Today, we're talking about Bitunix. You'll get a complete tutorial. That means I'll show you in detail how this exchange works. I'll also show you that they have a US trading license. Not even Bitget has that. Of course, they also have a proof of reserves. This means that the assets held on the exchange are 100% or even more fully backed. Additionally, you'll get a $10 US bonus just for signing up on the exchange, and you'll also have the opportunity to secure an extra 20% deposit bonus. You can then use this bonus to pay your trading fees, or if you set a stop loss and your position goes into the negative and hits that stop loss, the loss will be deducted from the bonus and not from your own money. Let's take a quick look at the US license so you can see that it's not just on the Bitunix homepage where you can see that they've received the US MSB license. No, I actually checked this myself on the official website. They have actually registered and received approval, and you can also download it here and get the official document where everything is recorded. There are also plenty of languages you can use on Bitunix, as you can see here. So it's not limited to English, but actually includes all the major languages worldwide. And what you can also see here now is the proof of reserve. If you are registered, you can get your own audit here, so you can see that your assets are truly secured one-to-one. And these audits are always conducted externally, and you can see here that there are more reserves available than assets held on the exchange. And you can also look at this historically here. There are always phases where there is even more. That means, in principle, there are no problems at all, because everything is almost doubly secured, as in this case here. And that should provide enough personal security when trading on such an exchange, especially when it's no KYC. But now let's start with the tutorial. I'll show you how you can claim your bonus. I'll also do this live in the video and claim a small bonus that I received as VIP status. And I'll also show you live while trading how this bonus is deducted from my fees. But I'll also let a position hit the stop loss so you can see live how that works as well. Once you've registered and logged in on the exchange, you'll see this interface here. Up here, we'll go through that in a moment. But basically, it's just like any other exchange. I just want to show you how you can, for example, claim your bonus, which you get once you've made your first deposit. I'll also show you how to make a deposit there. You go up here to this avatar, click on My Rewards, and after making a deposit at the latest 24 hours later, a bonus should appear here. For example, I have a bonus here right now. I received this because I'm VIP2, since I have a certain amount of assets stored here on Bitunix. But what does it look like in the past? I can go to reward history here, and you can see that you regularly receive futures bonuses and can keep redeeming them. And here, for example, it was $3, $13, $10, $5. Overall, it might not look like much, but depending on your trading volume, larger bonuses can come in from time to time. For example, I received 200 US Tether, which I was able to use as a futures bonus. That means if my stop loss gets hit, and for example, it's 200 US dollars, then that amount doesn't come out of my own balance, but the bonus is actually used for it, and officially, I haven't made a loss with my own assets. I'll also show you in detail what that looks like in a moment. If I go back now, I can claim this live with you. Let's see what it is that I'm getting here. As you can see, I've received another 2 US Tether as a bonus. So once again, a little something. And if you're a VIP, I want to mention that to you as well. I think that's already possible. VIP2 starts at 20,000 US dollars. If you have that amount deposited here, you'll receive a mystery box like the one I just got every 5 days. Additionally, you get lower fees, and sometimes it's even a bit more, like when I received the 200 US Tether. Sometimes it's $10, sometimes $5, sometimes a bit less. So that's really, really exciting. That simply means you have a certain trading volume, or if I wanted to become VIP3, I would have to deposit another 20,000 US Tether here. But what does it look like when it comes to making a deposit? If you want to do it anonymously without KYC, then you can only use a crypto deposit. Because if you go to buy crypto here with a credit card or debit card or via P2P or third party, then you have to verify yourself with KYC and deposit through your bank account or credit card. That only works with KYC. It's also not a problem if you say, yeah, okay, I like the exchange, I'll do everything with KYC. That's still totally fine. But if you say you really want to use it anonymously, then you go in here at the top to your assets, for example, now to the spot account. And there you have the option under deposit to send your crypto here from another exchange, from a ledger or from a MetaMask wallet. At the beginning, you choose which coin you want. You can do that here using this drop-down menu. Let's say US Tether. Then you choose a network you want to use here. Let's say the Tron network. And then you already have your deposit address here, and you can make your deposit right here. You can also choose whether it should go into the futures account or the spot account. And of course, crypto deposits also count towards the bonus. If we look further, I don't think I need to explain much about markets. Here, if you click in, you can simply see what's happening on the market, similar to CoinMarketCap. You also have opportunities here. If you want to see which ones have risen sharply, Memify USDT, for example, up 70% in the last 24 hours. Now I want to take a look at what the chart is currently doing and see if there might be an entry opportunity for a short because it's been pumped so massively, or maybe even a long. And you have these possibilities with these opportunities, but also which ones have dropped sharply. But let's move on to futures now. I want to show you a bit about how trading works here. If you already have some experience how this works in detail, you might be able to skip this part. I also want to show you something that I haven't seen at any other exchange so far. So I have a few open positions here now. You can see Doge, Bitcoin, and Sushi are open here. I think that's it. If I go in here now with my open long position, which I have here, for example, I can move my stop loss down here. Of course, several exchanges can do that. The good thing is I can also see here at the same time how much of a loss I would make if I set the stop loss here. And if I place it here now, I can always go back in with the mouse and you can actually see, okay, I would lose 60 US Tether or 12.27%. And then I can also cancel it here again so that it gets removed. It's the same with take profit. I will now open live positions for those who haven't done it yet, so they can see exactly how it works. But with take profit as well, for example, I would have 204 US Tether as profit or 41%. I'll delete that as well because this position is a building position for me. Exactly. Next, you can select the coin you want to trade. And for example, let's go to Ethereum. I'm saying now I'm opening a trading position on Ethereum. It's important, of course, that the balance you transfer over must be in your futures account. If you don't have it up here, you can click on these two little arrows and then it will show you from spot account, which is where you can buy and sell crypto, and the futures account would be for trading. Here I can, for example, just enter $100, click on submit, and then I have it on my futures account in a second and can use it for trading. Here we have limit, market, and trigger. I'm going to enter here with a market order. We'll open a very small position so you can see again what it looks like. We'll take a $100 position now. Important beforehand, for you it will probably be set to cross by default. Personally, I recommend you set it to isolated. What does cross mean? If I set it to cross now and I don't set a stop loss with my $100 position and it goes more than 100% into the negative, then it will also access this remaining balance here, not just the position I invested here. That's why I would personally switch from cross to isolated. Of course, you can also do this for all the other pairs, meaning you set the margin mode to isolated for all pairs, so you don't have to switch it separately each time, and you'll always be on isolated and protected. Then you also have the leverage settings, so you can set the leverage for long and short positions. On some exchanges, if you're not in hedge mode but in one-way mode, you only need to set one leverage here. But personally, I find it really great that this is the default, because I can open a long position and a short position at the same time, and I can also use a different leverage for each position. For example, let's do a quick analysis. It's a bit tricky right now, but let's say we open a small long position of $50 with 10 times leverage at the market price, and we'll open it now. What I forgot to show you just now, let's do it again here. This is about the bonus. I'll click on Open Bonus again. You can see here, as I mentioned, the opening fees are already being deducted from the bonus you receive, right? And that's definitely an advantage because I don't have to pay any fees for opening and closing positions. The next thing I want to add, and you can go in here, if I click on Future Bonus, you can see how much future bonus I've already used and how much I still have left as a remaining balance. And now I could set a stop loss, in this case for $2.89 as a small example, and then my stop loss would actually be deducted from the bonus. But now, just like in our current situation, I'll do this as a small example for you. I also want to open a short position, and I'll do the same thing again now. You see, I have a long at 10x, short at 5x. I'll just open it now, and again you can see here that the bonus is deducted again in the market. And now I have both a long and a short position. And now, for each of these positions, I can set my stop loss for the short position exactly where it should be. But I can also say, hey, if we go down, I want to set my take profit here. And I can do the same thing with the long position. When I'm down here in the positions, of course, I can manage my positions. Here I can say, for example, that I want to close 50% of my position now, or I can do a flash close so that everything is closed immediately. You can also see the adjustment of the take profit and stop loss, and you can see exactly, okay, I would lose 97 cents and I would gain 34 cents with the take profit and stop loss. But if we look further, you don't have to do it only down there. You can also click on close up here, and when you click on close here, you see the cost value. And now I say, for example, I want to close 50% of my long position, or actually neither of them is in profit, but it doesn't really matter. I want to close 50% of my long position and would use my futures bonus for this again. And now I've realized a small loss because we just weren't far enough in profit. Despite all that, I just wanted to show you exactly how this works in detail. And what we're also going to do now is set this very close right after this short position and my stop loss, so you can see live in case it gets triggered that the stop loss from my trading bonus, which I have available, will also be deducted if it hits the stop loss now. So as you can see now, we've just hit the stop loss here. I just want to show this with the future bonus, so you can see that my last stop loss position loss was just deducted from my future bonus, and now I have $2.39 left. And that's the big advantage you have with the future bonus. Another important thing to explain is that down here we have the cost value, ETH value, or nominal value. What does that mean for you if you want to set it up? Because for you, the nominal value will be displayed at the beginning. Now you have the following option. If we look at it now, the nominal value, if I set it, means I know I have 10x leverage long or 5x leverage short, whatever I set, and I want to use the position size based on the leverage position. What does that mean? I invest $1,000 here, but with a long position, I would actually only use a tenth of that because of the 10x leverage. That would be $100, which would actually be deducted from my balance here. Or yes, with 5x leverage, that would be $200 for a short position. Personally, that's what I like to do. I use the cost value. Why do I use the cost value? I know that I want to take $1,000 from my own balance and invest it, and that amount will then be multiplied by 10 for a 10x long leverage or by 5 for a short position. But for me, it's simply better if I know I'm putting $1,000 into a trade. And as a final option, you also have the quantity in the coins themselves, which simply means you want to use, for example, 1 Ethereum. You are using it as US Tether, but you are trading the amount in Ethereum. And now it would say, okay, with 5x leverage, I would have to use 729 US Tether from my own balance to go short. That's why my recommendation, and this is how I do it at least, is to use the cost value, because that way I always have an overview of what I'm actually doing. Now, so you can see it again below, we're going to take this one position, which was only opened for you guys here in Ethereum, and we'll do a flash close so that it's closed right away at the market price. And that's it, the matter is settled. If you have open orders, like limit orders, for example, you'll see them listed here. For instance, I still have one open on sushi, which I placed myself. We can also see this on the sushi chart now. If we go in here, you can see my entry price where I went long. But you can also see my stop loss here, which I set, as well as my new order and where the next stop loss is. And these are the limit orders. If you say in advance, hey, I want to set, for example, $1,000 at this or that price, and then I want to enter a long position. Additionally, you have an overview here of all your stop loss and take profit orders that are still active, and you can edit them at any time. What I also noticed is that down here, you can always see your liquidation price, but I think that's about it for the future settings. What we're going to cover now are the limit orders, because if you plan your trades in advance, where your entry points are, like in my case here, I'll explain that to you in a moment, you can set limit orders. The big advantage here is that you save on fees for opening and closing trades. In my case, as you can see here, I have 2 limit orders and I've also set a take profit. Maybe just briefly, why did I do that? I did this using a Fibonacci tool based on my strategy that I really like to use when trading. After we had a structure break here, I decided to use the 0, 5 and 0, 6, 1, 18 levels as entries. You can see that these levels were hit almost perfectly, and I'm now using them as entry points. Of course, I also set a stop loss, but I had already set a take profit in advance as well. This means I've basically already placed my trades, and once they're triggered, I don't have to worry about them anymore. That can happen at night, it can happen at any time when I'm not at the chart, and it opens and closes my positions according to my risk management. If you're interested in this strategy, check out my YouTube channel. There you'll find the video, The Simplest Trading Strategy. And if you're not using it yet, it's been really well received by the community. In that video, I show in detail exactly how I approach things and how I plan my entries as well. The big advantage with Bitunix is that I wouldn't even need to use TradingView because Bitunix has actually integrated this feature, something even Bitget doesn't have, so I can save my customized Fibonacci settings just the way I've adjusted them. And I can actually use Bitunix not only for my trades, but also for chart analysis and for applying my strategy right here. Let's now open a few limit orders together using this strategy, just so you can see how it works and what it looks like in detail. If I now say, okay, we've had a structure break here and I want to trigger my next Fibonacci level roughly at 173 US dollars, then I now have the option. Of course, I need to click on limit first. A price is already preset at the beginning and I can now say, okay, my first entry would be at $173. As a small example, I'll just enter that now and can do it like this and say, okay, I want to set $1,000. Or if I want the exact price, if I found a price next to the Fibonacci or somewhere on the chart, I can right click here, select copy price, and then paste it up here. What I can also do now is I have take profit and stop loss here. I can include that as well. I know my take profit will be up here in this case, so I copy this price again and paste it in here. That would be a profit of $715 with a 10 times leverage. And my stop loss, so that I can enter that as well, just so you can see how I set it. Just as a small example, but simply so that we can do this live together now, I set my stop loss just above the next Fibonacci level. Now I know where it is, so I right click here again, copy the price and then paste it in here. Then you can see I have a loss of 147 US dollars. In contrast, there is a potential profit of 715 US dollars. And now I can click on open long here, then I get all the information again and click on confirm. And you can see now that my orders are already placed and I don't have to worry about them anymore. That means if we reach the price now and find support there, I don't have to do anything else. It shows me where my take profit will be triggered and where my stop loss will be triggered. But I don't have to do this just once. Of course, I can do it a second time just as easily. I can simply say, okay, I know I want to enter again down here, exactly the same way, copy the price again, paste it in, and get my prices for take profit and stop loss up here again, just as a small example. And here as well, my stop loss would be roughly here. Just so you can see that I can apply this multiple times and that it's not always limited to just one order. And again, I enter $1,000 here. You can see here again, I would win 890 and lose 144 if that were the case. I click open long and do exactly the same thing again. And that's how you can proceed and let your limit orders work for you. It's important that if you want to open a long position, the limit order must always be below the current price. But if you want to open a short position, then the limit order must always be above the current price. You can also go down to open orders and view these limit orders there. Now you can see I have my two XLP positions here. I also have my Solana positions here. And of course I can edit the take profit and stop loss at any time. I can also adjust the amount with which I go long. In this case, it's now 58 Solana converted from my US Tether investment. And I can decide whether I want to bet more or less on it. But of course, you can also edit it at any time up here on your current limit orders that you have and you can move them. That pretty much covers the futures section now. To wrap up, I'll show you futures again. For example, if we look down here, what does such a position look like? Now the current Bitcoin position, you always have your order size in terms of Bitcoin amount, but also your US Tether, which is already leveraged. And you can also see that the margin is your own capital that is in the position. You can see here that I have now taken $103 out of the position, and you can also see your unrealized P&L in US Tether as well as in percentages. Of course, I can also edit my stop loss and take profit at any time here. The good thing is I can either close the entire position or specify here that I only want to take partial profit. If the price now, I don't know, let's say reaches 120,000 US dollars, I want to realize 50% of my position again. I would realize another 46.996 US Tether. Of course, you can also do this with the stop loss, meaning a partial stop loss or a complete stop loss, and a trailing take profit and stop loss is also interesting because you can specify that you want to set a certain distance. I can show you that here. If we now go into profit, I can specify in advance a certain distance. Let's say I take this order, we trigger it here, and then manage to get a reversal. I can then say, okay, my stop loss should follow this order, and the more the price rises, the more my stop loss automatically rises as well. And only when it corrects again does it close here and I've locked in the profit here. This is super interesting when it comes to a trailing take profit or stop loss order. Now let's move on to the spot section. Up here in the spot section, you have the option to buy and sell cryptocurrencies. You can do all of this with limit orders as well if you already know in advance, okay, where is my take profit, where is my stop loss, or for example, if I buy Ethereum now and I want to automatically sell it at $4,400. All of that is possible. Or if you say now I just want to swap cryptocurrencies for US Tether or exchange US Tether for a cryptocurrency, you can do that under Convert. If you click up here, you simply have 0 fees, no slippage, and you can buy, for example, if I enter 1000 US Tether now, in this case 0.008 Bitcoins at the current price, click on Convert and I haven't paid anything for it. But for now, we'll stay in the spot section so you can get to know it as well. It's actually exactly the same as what we know from futures. Let's maybe go back to Ethereum for a moment. And I say, I want to buy 1 Ethereum at a price, let's say we go down here to $4,082 US. You can enter it exactly the same way. You can also specify in advance where your stop loss is. If I say if it drops further, it should sell the Ethereum again and I can buy back in at lower prices. Or as in this case, I can say that at $4,400 US, I want it to automatically sell the Ethereum again. That would yield me 7.79% with a profit of 318 US Tether. And of course, you can do the same thing with market orders. If we have a massive pump and you absolutely want to sell up here, you can of course do that at the best price. You say, for example, I want to buy Ethereum for 1000 US Tether right now, then you can do that at the market price. The best possible price will be taken. There might be a small slippage, of course, but it's minimal, and then you click on Buy Ethereum. Of course, you can do the same thing with selling. You can set a limit order. At what price should it sell my Ethereum when that price is reached? Or I just want to sell Ethereum at the market price right now. That wraps up the spot section for now. Up here, you can also go into staking, either flexible or fixed term staking. You have dual investment here as well, which you can check out. You can also join various promotions that are currently active and participate to earn more bonus coupons, which you can then use again for your trading. And here you also have access to the Bitunix Academy, a blog, the Bitunix community, and several other things. And you can also find the proof of reserve here, which I showed you at the beginning of the video. I hope this was helpful to you. If you are truly interested in using a no KYC exchange, I would appreciate it if you use my link. And of course, I wish you much success in your trading.